Once upon a time in a small town nestled between rolling hills and whispering forests, there lived a young woman named Sarah who couldn't sleep. Night after night, she would lie in bed, watching the shadows dance across her ceiling, listening to the old house settle around her. Sarah had inherited her grandmother's Victorian home 6 months ago. It was a beautiful place with creaky wooden floors, tall windows that caught the morning light, and a wraparound porch where her grandmother used to sit and watch the fireflies on summer evenings. But something about the house felt unfinished, like a story waiting for its ending. One particularly restless night, as the clock struck midnight, Sarah heard a soft sound coming from the attic. It wasn't scary or alarming, more like the gentle rustle of paper in a breeze. She pulled on her robe and climbed the narrow stairs, her bare feet silent on the worn wood. The attic was filled with moonlight streaming through a round window. Dust motes danced in the silver beams like tiny stars. And there in the corner sat an old trunk she'd never noticed before. The brass clasps gleamed as if they'd been recently polished. Sarah knelt beside the trunk and lifted the lid. Inside, she found stacks of letters tied with lavender ribbons, and beneath them, a leather journal with her grandmother's initials embossed in gold. She opened the journal to the first page and began to read. "My dearest Sarah," the entry began, though it was dated 50 years ago. "I know that someday you'll find this journal, just as I knew that someday you'd come to live in this house. There are stories I need to tell you, stories about our family and about the magic that runs through our bloodline like a golden thread." Sarah settled back against an old armchair, pulling a quilt around her shoulders. As she read, her grandmother's voice seemed to whisper from the pages. "When I was your age," the journal continued, "I discovered that our family has a gift. We are the keepers of lost dreams. Every night when the world grows quiet and people drift off to sleep, some dreams get lost on their way to the dreamers. They float through the darkness like dandelion seeds on the wind, searching for where they belong." Sarah turned to the page, her fingers trembling slightly. "These lost dreams gather in special places. Old libraries, moonlit gardens, forgotten attics like this one. And we, the keepers, help them find their way home. It started with my grandmother and her grandmother before that, stretching back through generations of women who understood that dreams are precious things that sometimes need a gentle hand to guide them." The journal went on to describe how her grandmother would sit in this very attic on sleepless nights, opening her heart and mind to the lost dreams that drifted through the window. She would hold them gently, like capturing fireflies in cupped palms, and then release them to find their rightful dreamers. "The dreams come in all forms," her grandmother wrote. "Sometimes they're adventures waiting to unfold. A child's dream of flying over rainbow mountains, or an artist's vision of colors that don't yet exist. Sometimes they're memories transformed into comfort, a mother's lullaby turned into a warm embrace, or the scent of fresh bread becoming a feeling of home." Sarah paused in her reading and looked around the attic with new eyes. The moonlight seemed brighter now, and she could swear she saw something shimmering in the air, like heat waves on a summer road. The journal continued with instructions. "To become a keeper, you must first quiet your mind. Let go of the day's worries, the tomorrow's fears. Breathe in the night air and feel yourself becoming part of the darkness, part of the space between waking and sleeping. Then, open your hands and your heart. The dreams will come to you." Sarah set the journal aside and closed her eyes. She breathed deeply, feeling the cool night air fill her lungs. The house creaked gently around her, and she imagined herself sinking into the floorboards, becoming part of the wood and stone and memory that made up this place. At first, nothing happened. Then she felt a tickle against her palm, soft as a butterfly's wing. She opened her eyes and gasped. Floating just above her outstretched hand was a tiny, glowing sphere no bigger than a marble. It pulsed with soft blue light, and when she looked closer, she could see something moving inside it. A small boat sailing across a starlit sea. More dreams began to appear, drifting through the window like luminous bubbles. A golden one contained the laughter of children playing in a summer meadow. A silver dream held the feeling of rain on thirsty earth. A rose-colored sphere carried the sensation of a perfect first kiss, all nervous excitement and tender hope. Sarah watched in wonder as the dreams swirled around her. Some paused as if considering her before moving on. Others seemed to nestle close, seeking warmth and understanding. She remembered her grandmother's words and tried to sense where each dream belonged. The blue dream with the sailing boat, that belonged to Mr. Chen down the street, who had always wanted to travel the world, but never had the chance. Sarah held it gently and whispered, "Go to Mr. Chen. Show him the adventures that await in his sleep." The dream bobbed once, as if nodding, and zipped away through the window. A green dream filled with the scent of growing things belonged to Mrs. Patterson, whose arthritis kept her from her beloved garden. Sarah sent it on its way with a blessing for peaceful sleep and mornings without pain. As she worked, Sarah felt a deep sense of purpose settling into her bones. This was why she'd always been a night owl, why sleep had eluded her. She wasn't meant to be sleeping during these precious hours. She was meant to be awake, guiding dreams home. The journal had mentioned that each keeper developed their own methods. Her great-great-grandmother had sung the dreams to their destinations. Her grandmother had painted them in the air with her fingers, creating paths of light for them to follow. Sarah discovered that she could feel the emotional resonance of each dream, matching it to the dreamer who needed it most. Hours passed like minutes. Sarah sent dreams of courage to the teenager afraid of tomorrow's test, dreams of peace to the new mother worried about her baby, dreams of joy to the widower missing his wife. Some dreams she held longer, complex ones that needed untangling, nightmares that had twisted themselves into knots, happy dreams that had gotten confused and lost their way. As the eastern sky began to lighten with the first hints of dawn, the flow of dreams slowed. Sarah found herself holding one last dream, different from all the others. This one was silver white, like moonlight on water, and when she looked into it, she saw herself as a child, sitting on her grandmother's lap on the porch swing. "This one's for you, my dear." Her grandmother's voice seemed to whisper from the dream itself. "I saved it for when you were ready." Sarah brought the dream close to her heart and felt it merge with her, filling her with warmth and love and the absolute certainty that she was exactly where she belonged. The dream carried with it all of her grandmother's love, all her hopes for Sarah's future, and the promise that she would never truly be alone. As the dream settled into her heart, Sarah felt a profound drowsiness wash over her. But it wasn't the restless, anxious feeling that usually kept her awake. This was the peaceful exhaustion that comes from good work well done. She made her way back to her bedroom, her steps light despite her tiredness. The house felt different now, alive with purpose and memory and the faint echo of dreams. She climbed into bed, pulled the covers up to her chin, and smiled. Tomorrow night she would return to the attic. There would be more dreams to guide home, more dreamers to help. But for now, for the first time in months, Sarah felt ready to sleep. As her eyes closed, she thought she heard her grandmother's voice one more time, carried on the morning breeze. "Sweet dreams, my dear keeper. Sweet dreams." The sun rose fully, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Birds began their morning songs and the town slowly woke to a new day. But in the Victorian house on the hill, Sarah slept peacefully, her own dreams finally finding their way home. And in attics and gardens and quiet corners all around the world, other keepers finished their nightly work, ensuring that no dream would ever truly be lost, that every sleeper would find the vision, memory, or adventure they needed most. The magic continued, as it always had and always would, carried forward by those who understood that dreams are not just random firings of sleeping minds, but gifts that sometimes need a little help finding their way. And in her sleep, Sarah smiled, already looking forward to the night ahead and the dreams that would need her guiding hand. As the story of the Dreamkeeper spread through whispered bedtime tales and gentle lullabies, children and adults alike began to sleep a little easier, knowing that somewhere someone was making sure their dreams would find them. And perhaps on nights when sleep seems impossible and the world feels too heavy, You might remember Sarah and her grandmother, and know that your dreams are never truly lost. They're just taking the scenic route home, guided by caring hands and loving hearts. The house stands still now in the morning light, keeping its secrets safe until nightfall. And if you listen very carefully on a quiet night, you might hear the whisper of dreams passing by your window, on their way to exactly where they need to be. Sweet dreams, dear dreamer. Sweet dreams.